I don't even think I've realized until this moment that that has been my resistance. So that was kind of a cool enlightenment from our conversation.
The
Spiritual Shitshow podcast with Suzanne Soul, episode 34.
Hey, girl, and welcome to the Spiritual Shitshow podcast, where we get into the holy drama the healing and spiritual awakening journey can be. I'm your host, Suzanne Soul, comedian, lifelong spiritual student, and seeker, and explorer, and customer service rep, and intern. JK, I'm not an intern. And I'm also not a customer service rep, but just for you. And I'm sharing some of the amazing top secrets. Okay, they're not really secrets, but they're definitely the top, but they're not secrets, that have helped me and that I hope help you too. All right, it's time for part 2 of Asking for a Friend. What the fuck is consciousness? With my fabulous guest, Rev. Linda Jackson. We had such an amazing chitty chat in part 1, talking about the importance of exploring the spiritual and the psychological journey and doing your human healing work. And we started the conversation about the 4 aspects of consciousness, which are to me, by me, through me, and as me, that Rev. Linda uses in her teachings, which are based on Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith's work. And we drilled down into the to me aspect. Oh yes, we got deep into that shit show. And if you missed it, go check it out. No, really, go check it out. I'll wait here. Okay, welcome back. Now, like I was about to say, it's obviously time for part 2. So I'm going to stop talking about it and I'm just going to do it. All right, let's get into it. So now I just want to say like one more thing about this, and that is, I'm going to go back to the workplace, because the workplace, sometimes people are, they're trying to get out, they're trying to get other jobs, but they have to just try to get through until that happens. And so how can someone go to their place of power and get to a more, the next level by me or any of the levels, when they're kind of having to navigate a continued environment which they cannot get out of in the current moment?
Yes. So this is why I think it's so important that spiritual growth and psychological growth go hand in hand, because these are psychological concepts, right? And yet, if we haven't done any spiritual practice, if we haven't known that our power is within us, that we have everything we could ever need available to us, if we haven't practiced that before, it's going to be a little challenging to suddenly jump to that when things are hitting the fan, right? So that's something that we need to be practicing on the regular, so that we've already developed that muscle, so that when something happens, we might feel the reaction, but then we can bring ourselves back and go, okay, let me go back to my practice, whether it's my breathing, my meditation, my prayer, having a session with someone, whatever it is that I need to do. I mean, some people, it could be a walk in the forest or a run,
it can change your mood, for sure.
Regroup yourself.
Yes.
So we have to have that muscle that we're developing to bring ourselves back to center, right?
Because I just want to say, like, the spiritual bypass version of that would be like, none of that is real. It's not real. And it's like, it is real, because you have to get up there and you have to go there at 9:00 again tomorrow.
Yeah.
So,
or to somehow think that it's going to make you stronger, and you're going to pass some test for.
I mean, that's my go-to. I'm not going to lie to you. So, I am experiencing a situation like that. So how can I navigate an environment that doesn't feel great? And I don't want to beat myself up for it. I don't want to blame myself for it. I want to take accountability for it. And I want to, I don't know, am I looking for, I need to heal something in myself so that I don't attract this anymore, or?
Possibly. I mean, I think every individual has their own experience, right? There are some things that I like to practice physically as a human that help me develop the awareness. So aside from my being, some mindfulness, meditation, prayer, all of that. There's a practices of noticing what the body sensations are, noticing what the emotions are doing, and noticing what the thoughts are doing.
Yeah.
And this is a modified version of something I
Yes.
learned in Conscious Leadership Group.
Yes.
And if we practice this regularly, we notice, oh, this is how my body is responding.
Yeah.
My nervous system may or may not be doing, or, not making up any stories, just noticing this is what's going on in the body. This is what's going on in the emotional body, and this is what my thoughts are doing. And so if we practice this all the time, then when we are in an activated state, when we're triggered by something or someone, we are more quick to go, because we notice the adrenaline grip on the chest, or the heart pounding, or the eyes watering, or whatever's happening, right? And the emotions, fluttering, and all the things that occur, and our thoughts doing what they do. And we can pause that because we have the practice of just observing it without needing to respond to it.
Yeah. And I love what you said about feeling into your body, because it really kind of pinpoints the actual, the issue that the person may be having. Like if I'm in a situation, when I'm going into my body, it's like I'm coming back home. I'm coming back to me. And it makes me recognize that when any of us are in those triggered moments, that we've gone into the drama. We've flown the coop.
We can. A lot of times, many of us do not have any clue what our bodies are doing.
Yes, right.
Many of us have learned to live from here up, right?
Yeah.
That's not everyone.
Right.
Some people are super dialed into their body and maybe could use a little more heart or whatever, right? We all have our habits and our life experiences that sort of slanted us in one direction or another, right? But so none of it being wrong, just that's why that awareness and anything we can do to build awareness is so helpful.
I love that.
So that when we hit a crisis moment, we've already got the tools in place.
Yeah.
So specifically, regarding your situation, another thing that I would offer, I think, is something that I always hear myself saying is that somewhere along the way we had an experience or experiences, and we came to believe something to be true about ourselves or the world, right? So we've developed the belief.
Right.
And in response to that, we developed a coping behavior for how do I get through the world based on this thing that I think is true.
Right.
How do I navigate life?
Yeah.
And now I'm seeing through the filter of that belief. I can only see what I believe I'm going to see.
Yeah.
So I keep seeing things, and they validate the belief and the behavior.
Yeah.
And now here I am, in the loop. I keep doing this again, and different person, same kind of deal. And I know you were asking for a friend, but I really appreciate that you let me talk about it with you.
But I also want to say, what came to my mind while you were explaining that so beautifully was, I think another part of it might be that knowing you're susceptible to that kind of helps you go, oh, I'm very susceptible to that. So I have to be mindful that when someone is behaving that way, that I'm very susceptible. And that kind of helps feel like you get some space between you and the drama.
I appreciate the idea of what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't want to affirm
understood.
for you
Okay.
that you would be susceptible to that.
Right.
I would choose to say something like, I have tended to be sucked into this, or I have been susceptible to this, and I am going to be aware so that I am no longer allowing myself to be susceptible to it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
Right?
I do. But yes, I do. And for me,
it's a yes and.
It's a yes and. Yeah. So for me to notice it helps me once I become aware of something, then
Yep.
I'm less likely to get trapped in it.
Yes.
So
100%
yeah,
agree.
yeah. So, okay. So thank you so much for indulging me, because like I said, I know I'm not alone. I know that so many of us struggle with the to me because we feel like we can't get out. And even though, it takes a while before you have enough moments of getting into your spiritual life where you can really take it on the road.
Yeah, I agree. Something that I've been working with more recently is in nonviolent communication and empathy, building empathy and learning how to communicate with people and, that so we can be in a healthy relationship and have healthy communication, right? It's one of the tools. And nonviolent communication is a really beautiful practice that teaches empathy. And one of the things that you learn in that is what are the unmet needs. And it's something that has become useful to me because in my spiritual growth, it was more all about the beliefs driving the behaviors, where I did the psychological work, like in the hypnotherapy training and so forth. We would look at the unmet needs. But I love the nonviolent communication approach because they have lists of when your needs are met, you feel like this, this, and this. When your needs are unmet, you feel like this, this, and this. And they're long.
100%.
And that's another really helpful tool to begin to notice, what am I needing? What's the unmet need here right now?
That's great. Yeah.
So that can really help you shift from that victim to actually being empowered and taking responsibility.
Right.
Like, this is what I need. I don't need them to do it.
Yeah. So then the next, what is not an aspect? The next aspect is
By me.
okay.
And by me is where we've been in this to me victim consciousness, and the opportunity is to step into taking responsibility for our experience, recognizing that we can change our experience and that we have the power to have a different experience. So this is where it's the sort of manifestor creator consciousness, right? So we're stepping into a little bit healthier ego. So when we talk about psychological growth, moving from to me to by me is moving from unhealthy ego to healthier ego.
Okay.
Still ego.
Right.
We're humans.
And it also
We
sounds
got ego.
like powerless to attempting to have power.
Empowerment.
Empowering yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. And we start to realize that I can take control of this. I can do something. I can put a resume together and apply for a job, or I can ask someone for a loan and buy a new vehicle so that I can move to a new town, whatever it is, right? We can begin to take steps toward changing things. And we realize that we created the problem, we can solve the problem. Right?
Oh man, that is
And that we can
painful
learn from it.
I mean, man, it's painful. That's really fucking painful.
Well, this is where we begin to realize we can learn from what's happening and not just be a woe is me at the effect of.
Yeah.
But the challenge here in this quadrant is, my persona for this is like, I'm on the treadmill. Now I'm going to go get things done.
Yeah.
I'm going to make it happen.
Yeah.
I'm going to go be the doer.
Yes.
And we can fall into that,
right?
And it can be exhausting.
Yeah.
And also then when something doesn't quite go right, we can be right back in victim because we're like, oh, I fucked up.
Yes.
Or,
oh my God.
Happened? I did this wrong. And what, now how's it going to go? Or I have to start all over, all of that. Right. So it's a very important part of our psychological growth to learn to take responsibility, to move from victim to manifestor, from to me to by me. And it's very important to continue that witness consciousness, noticing how we're being so that we don't get stuck on the, I need to make it happen, and thinking I'm the one, I'm the creator.
Right. What I hear in the by me is sounds like a healthy yet robust ego launching pad. Like it's coming from ego and it's a little puffed up, but it's
Yeah.
well intended.
Yes. I would say it's healthier ego than victim
Yes, right,
consciousness.
right, because at least
I
you're,
don't know that it's always all the way to healthy. I mean, healthy ego just means that we're aware when we're like in our personality, or
Okay.
when we're having a triggered reaction, or when our beliefs are running the show, right? So healthy just means we've got a good witness consciousness. We notice pretty quickly, and we have the tools to like take a breath, go for a walk, do some exercise, or whatever you need to do to get your mind right and to get yourself right, so that you're not just in that triggered reactive state.
sounds like I'm gonna make this happen, and and it's not gonna be about them. It's gonna be about me and nurturing myself and building.
Yeah, it becomes about being responsible for our thoughts and our experience. It's very much the sort of beginning steps of new thought, like affirmative prayer, vision board, manifesting, right? Just thinking, I can create something different in my life. I can learn from that and go in a different direction. If there was a problem, I can solve it, all of that, right? But the opportunity there is to give up that control and thinking that we're the creator,
Right.
and surrender and drop into through me consciousness, where we co-create, where the channel, this is where we deepen spiritually.
Right.
So as we were talking about earlier, the to me is going from unhealthy ego to by me, which is healthier ego. And then we drop into through me, and we deepen spiritually.
So
we open to receive.
So what are some of the things I think that can be a catalyst that would move someone from the by me to the through me? What can instigate that kind of change shift?
Well, I mean, there are a lot of things that can create openings spiritually, right? Everyone has different things that could prompt an opening for them, where they might go through a dark night of the soul and then have an opening. They might be at the beach and have an experience of oneness with nature. It could just be a dedicated spiritual practice where you're deepening, and realizing I don't need to have that control.
Right.
I don't, that control puts me back into that pattern too easily, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think there's a set thing that moves somebody through me, other than literally doing your work to deepen your spiritual practice, your spiritual connection, whatever it is for you.
Yeah. Can you give kind of like a basic description of through me, that aspect?
So it is the co-creator. It is the channel and the deepening spiritually. That is how I would describe through me. And so where victim and to me, we think life happens to me, and then the by me or manifestors, when we think life happens by me, I'm the one doing it, and through me is life is happening through me instead of to me or by me, right?
Like
So
I'm a vehicle for
the we're
expression.
a channel, we're a conduit. We become allowing and receptive. Like we go with the flow of life. We go where the energy is taking us instead of pushing against to try to make it happen, right?
Yeah.
We allow ourselves to be guided and led.
Now tell me how we can do that without like losing our experience of ourselves as a person.
It's funny. I think people have that question all the time when we're doing this work. I think that's a very good question, a common question. And I remember feeling that way too. I remember feeling like, well, I don't want to lose my like sense of humor and my like I don't want to stop being me.
Yeah.
And you don't.
Right.
It's really just about discerning what parts of the personality are healthy and okay, and which ones might need a little bit of work or maybe a little, not so much showing up that way, right? It's discernment.
And it also feels like just allowing yourself, like I'm just feeling into this right now, like allowing yourself to be connected to spirit and not separate yourself. It's like allowing yourself to be part of.
It's remembering that we are at one with spirit all the time.
Yeah.
Right. And that is another quality that you find in interdependence. We're not looking for something out there so much. We know we have everything we need already.
Yeah.
And, we also, when it comes more to like what we're making things mean, we recognize that we're the source of the meaning, right? We recognize that we're the one who's making up the meaning on things. So we can choose to think of it how we want to think of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, I love the idea of using spiritual practice to kind of open that channel up. And because I think that's where spiritual practice is so incredibly powerful, I think.
It is. And, the practice of visioning.
Yes.
Which for people who are not familiar, it's different from visualization. Visualization is the practice of imagining how you want things, which would be by me. We would use the visualization practice or technique to bring things into manifestation, right? Visioning is where we open ourselves, and it's like a guided meditation, and we receive insight and information around what is wanting to express or happen through me.
Yeah.
Right.
Sometimes when I'm talking to people, like questions just pop up into my head that I never thought of before. And I'm having one of those moments. And I'm thinking
just one?
Just, oh no. Sorry. I'm very curious. Do you think that for people who have experienced trauma in their life or abuse or a lot of scary experiences, there is a fear around that much allowing and surrender because like putting your guard down was not safe for you when you were a kid?
I absolutely think that could be someone's experience.
Yeah.
And on the flip side of that, a lot of people who have had trauma are so out of their bodies all the time that they resonate with meditation as like a way to escape their body instead of a way to get into their body.
Yeah, that's so true.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's really very individual. I learned, through my own journey that I had to sort of take what people were teaching and then figure out how it best applied for me.
Yeah.
Because we don't all have the same experience.
Right.
So what's working for someone one way may not be the ideal way for me.
Right.
So,
Right.
and that's one of the things I loved about Ernest Holmes. It was like, take it, try it. If it works, do it. If it doesn't, set it down and keep going,
So what do you think some people could do if they are struggling with letting go and allowing, because there's a lot of fear for them of doing that because it just feels, dangerous to not try to be managing all the time and it's really more managing yourself rather than other people.
So what's coming up for me as you say that is, again, I think it would have to be very individual.
Yeah.
A consideration for what that person is experiencing. I'm thinking really connecting with the part of them that is afraid, the part of them that feels the trauma is still alive in them, and working with that. That's that sort of deepening psychologically and doing some shadow work with that. And it's really, we don't want to get rid of that part. We want to reestablish connection with that part and redevelop trust so that that part trusts us to take care of ourselves. And then ultimately, eventually, we will feel safe to go into a surrender. But we need to reestablish that trust with the part of us that's afraid.
So is the trust with us, with ourselves, that is the resistance to letting go.
Yeah, because
Okay.
there's a part, imagine a child who was in a scary home environment and they learned to not trust anyone or anything and started, like me, developing this coping behavior of I'm just going to do things for other people and then I'll feel better. And so I have a part that I had to re-engage with to learn to trust myself, that I wouldn't just keep being busy and doing stuff, and that I would actually stay in my body, that I would actually address what was going on with me, that I would actually remember why this part of me feels the feelings that it feels. And that could be unique to each person,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to make it a little
Yeah.
generic and still map a little bit of my stuff on there just for an example.
Yeah, no, yeah. And, for me, I think I fear authority a lot. That's why probably I have problems with bosses, because I so much fear. And I think for me, thinking about surrendering and allowing, I guess I see it as an authority. I'm seeing God or spirit as an authority bigger than me, at least. You know what I mean? And so I think that's for me why I'm like, so it was very enlightening to understand that, Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to go back to like, what's the unmet need,
Right.
right? So what was not being met in you that then had you learn to not trust authority?
Right.
So I'm not expecting you to answer that
Yes.
in this moment,
Right.
but I think that is a hint.
Yeah.
It's a way for us to start to get related
Right.
to what is the unmet need.
Yeah.
What was the unmet need then
Yeah.
that is still playing out now?
Yeah. I don't even think I've realized until this moment that has been my resistance. So that was kind of a cool enlightenment from our
Send you the bill
conversation.
later.
Okay. No, but seriously, like, that's really cool. No, but, and the other thing I want to say too about, that whole idea for any situation is every time for me in therapy, when I have really been stuck in something, it was because there was a part of me that was like stuck in time. And so that's why that part doesn't see the present moment. So that goes back to what you shared earlier about, doing the shadow work and, because, those parts of us are trapped in time and they're not an adult, and we're not like connected with those parts of ourselves because they're not in the present moment.
Yeah, well, another way to think of it that is in the subconscious mind, there is no time.
Right.
So but the beauty is that when you access the part of you that is still having the trauma response and have a corrective experience, you can transform your life because it can literally change. You can go back into the memory and have a shift in how you walk away from it so that it can transform your experience of the present and what comes after.
Yeah, which is literally, it's like does a whole circle back to, it's all us. The 4 aspects of consciousness. It's like we're driving the train, especially when we don't know we're driving the train. Then we're like Thelma and Louise.
Sometimes there's a little something else driving. That's
right.
Our
5-year-old.
Exactly.
Okay, so fabulous. So what I'm understanding is the through me is something's happening to me. I feel out of control. I feel powerless. By me, I'm taking steps for myself to improve my life, to improve my experience. And then through me is I am allowing the source of my being, the greatest strength there is, to move through me, to express through me, to create
Yes.
through me.
Yes.
So then from there, we go to tell her what she's won, Bob.
The only thing left here is to give up ego
Yeah.
and separation altogether, right? So we're just experiencing our oneness. And remember that as me is the truth of who we are. This is our divine identity. This is who we were as we came into this experience of being human. We're spiritual beings, right? So when we move into as me, it's just those moments of experiencing our awakened self in the oneness. And I think there are some people who walk the planet feeling that way all the time. We have some, like a Byron Katie or a Eckhart Tolle, those people who literally have, had these major awakenings.
Yeah.
Most of us are on a little slower path to awakening.
We're like swimming around all four.
And we have a moment and then we go back. And then we have a glimpse and then we go back. Right?
Get here again.
Yes.
So
yes.
can you maybe just give an explanation of the as me aspect is
Our divine identity, we are at one with everything. It's our spiritual beingness, right? There's only oneness. There are no problems. There's not a problem to work out. We don't even perceive anything as a problem anymore.
Yeah.
We just know that everything is happening exactly as it's supposed to for our growth, for our involvement, right?
Yeah. What that says to me is that circle back to the psychological and spiritual growing together. And it almost feels like the aspects are like a gradient of this is my most human psychological self that's totally separated. Not totally, but in mind believes it is totally separated. And then we have these two middle guys who are like flowing. And then we go all the way over here where we're like all in our spiritual essence. And
We're all up in
we're
it.
all up in it, girl. Right? Does that?
Well, yes. And the way I think of it is the as me is just the truth of who we are. That is us all the time.
Right.
We just forget. And as humans do throughout life, we have these experiences that develop these beliefs, and we end up in like victim consciousness or manifestor consciousness or through me consciousness, right? Where I really like to play when I'm working with clients is to sort of deepen in spiritual growth in the through me consciousness, and then into manifester, so that we're manifesting and building and creating from spiritual inspiration, from spiritual guidance, rather than from the on the treadmill, gotta make it happen mindset. If we drop in, deepen, receive guidance, and then we do our manifesting from there. And I kind of picture it as a figure 8 between the through me and the by me, and just sort of keeping that going, knowing that as me is really the truth of who we are. And then once in a while, we're going to drop into victim, and we're going to come back quickly as we can and get back to the game of spiritual deepening and manifesting.
I love that because it kind of reminds me of I've been doing a series on Joseph Campbell, and there's something that he said that really to me speaks to your the way you're working with your clients, and and having them practice and really get into the access to the great spiritual essence of themselves before they get into working on manifesting. Because when we don't do that, Joseph Campbell says it's like standing on a whale fishing for minnows. Right?
That's awesome.
Isn't it?
Yeah. It's so, when we're first learning in terms of spiritual growth work, and we're first opening to these ideas and these concepts, and it is expansive and it's exciting and it's amazing. And then all of a sudden we're like, whoa, what just happened? Like, I'm back where I was before I learned anything, because I didn't have the deepening, right? I I just kind of jumped. It's the bypass we were talking about earlier, right? So let me give an example. Early on, I was really getting the manifesting thing, and I was feeling high vibration. I was feeling so good, and I was really feeling lifted up from the victim that I had been in, and I had been in a real dark night of the soul in my life. And so I got uplifted. The teachings were really working for me, and I was excited, and I was manifesting, and I got this like fun relationship thing going, and it was like really exciting and great. And then all of a sudden it wasn't, because I hadn't done any of the work on the stuff in me that was causing the problem that had me in victim consciousness in the first place. So now I have this manifesting energy, and I'm attracting this great fun thing in my life, but I very quickly fell back into my old patterns of codependency and no boundaries and all the other things that I'm like the wicked witch melting.
Well, I was so exactly thinking that. I'm like, I'm melting. Oh my God, we were so in sync. I literally was about to say, like the wicked witch, you look like you're melting. Oh my God, I love that. My beautiful evil. That's awesome. So I just want to ask just a few more questions. And one of them is, what would you say the big differences are between through me and as me? Because they kind of seem similar.
Yes. But as me is just... Thank you. I couldn't get the vibrato going.
We did a duet.
So it's just being at one. It's, I have moments of this when I am at the beach. There's a place I go that it's just, there's something about it that really opens me. And, people talk about feeling that in nature, or some people feel it with, a beloved pet. There, you might be more open. And, anytime you feel love, you're feeling God, right? And so those moments are true examples of as me. And like we said, there are people who walk the planet like that all the time. I find that hard to kind of comprehend because I'm not there.
Right.
But I do spend a lot of my time in through me.
That's wonderful.
A lot.
Wonderful.
And I feel that I am communing a large part of the time, right? I have a lot of prayer calls. I do a lot of spiritual practice. Spiritual study is a way that I feel very connected. That's something that really works for me. I have some direct revelation things that happen, like just insights that occur. I don't feel like, oh, I'm so smart. Look at that great idea I had. I feel like it's something that comes through me. It comes to me. Yeah. So that to me is through me. And it is very different than by me. Yes. Right? Yeah. So that feels easy to discern. Right. I think the through me to the as me is like, in through me, we're still functioning humans. We still have some ego, and we still recognize ourselves as an entity separate from God instead of the merging, right? Where as me is, we know ourselves as one. It's almost hard to comprehend.
Yeah, it really is. I think, I'm sitting here asking, like, how do we decipher it? And I think what you're saying is so accurate. It's like, we really it's difficult unless we're like 24/7, like an Eckhart Tolle or Byron Katie.
Right. Yeah, because it's sort of like if you're in it, you wouldn't be asking the question. Right. You'd be so at one. Right. There would be no separation.
Yeah. And just everything's okay. And it's just amazing.
And just talking about it creates separation.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much. This has been such an incredible conversation, Linda.
Thank
Seriously.
you. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you
It's been
so
really
much.
fun. I appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I really feel like this has been so explained so beautifully. I think that you explained so many things so beautifully, and I know I got a lot out of it, and I think anyone listening is going to really get a lot out of it.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Rev Linda Jackson.
Thank you.
Okay, my loves, what an amazing conversation with the gorgeous, wise, and insightful Rev Linda Jackson. Huge ass thanks to Rev Linda for sharing her amazing spiritual wisdom and insight, and also for giving me a mini session. I've said it before and I'll say it again. We never stop learning. We never stop growing in our humanity and in our spiritual practice, and we can help each other do it. So that's why I was asking for a friend, and you're the friend, and I'm the friend too. Darlings, as always, thank you so much for joining me. This has been the Spiritual Shitshow podcast. My name is Suzanne Soul, and I will see you on the next one. Roll it, darling. No, you can go ahead and roll it then. Thank you.